Hello, my name is Jubal, and sorry, I'm not be a little bit consistent because I started school. My last video, it's almost been a few weeks. The last time I checked, and I'm truly sorry about that. And so this video, I want to talk about nostalgia. You know, and just bear with me. So here we go. So right now I was sitting at Jack in the Box. Sorry about that. I was sitting at Jack in the Box, eating while some of the modern terms we like to call it now doom scrolling. And I was rewatching some of the old videos. Old videos about some YouTubers that I used to watch. And it was kind of sad, and also watching, some of the friends or your neighborhood friends you had at home. Some of you had, some of you didn't. But it's kind of sad because some of them are growing up. They have their own little interest that I could say, and it really hit home for me because I'm an adult, and I was looking back, some of the old YouTubers that I used to watch, and some of the things never hit the same, but nostalgia, because I grew up in the suburbs, because I grew up watching the suburbs, and not watching now, grew up in the suburbs, where everything's so close around you. But my suburb is very different than those like stereotypical suburbs, where the only way to get out of the suburb is to drive out of here, and I was like sitting there, like, I can't believe time really flies by that fast, like time really flies by fast. And it really sucks, I'm sorry for stopping, talking, but because I never thought everything was the same, I know I'm not the only one who feels like that, but like I said, I'm an adult, and I just can't believe that I have to do adult things, which is not hard, but I know what I seen is gonna suck, because how the day and age is, And sorry, I'm wiping my face off, you know. And you know, my friend, you know, the closest friend I have, you know, we grew up in the same neighborhood, you know. We used to come into each other's house and play games, you know. Same with my family members. Most of them moved on, you know. Most of them moved on. And for me, I will admit that I haven't, you know. For me, I haven't. I know they say, oh, if you haven't moved on, it's a bad thing. True, you know, like maybe, yeah, you haven't moved on yet, but I'm still trying to process a little bit of what I'm gonna do, which I already have my plan in mind that I do want to do when I get a career or a stable job or whatever, you know. But I do get that, you know. And I still remember, like, the books that I used to read as a kid, you know. Like, the books that I used to read were, it was called Curious George. I used to have a collection, you know. But I gave it away to my friend. You know, it's a nice thing, you know, because I stopped reading, which I talked about in my previous videos, you know, about the reading levels, and very hard to be consistent with it. And you know, I still think about it, and also I used to have Beyblades, and I used to have little Pokemon cards that I used to play, but I never, like, because back then Pokemon cards were like in the 2000, early 2010s, you know, thing. I still kind of miss it, you know. I never competed, but I have a little funny story. But this is not like for Pokemon, but I wanted to compete in Yu-Gi-Oh, you know, in Yu-Gi-Oh, and we went to a tournament. But the problem is I live so far away from it. I was like, man, I just quit, you know. And because, you know, I didn't have enough cards to get, you know, but I was collecting them. You know, I want to learn how to play. But I was playing them in elementary school, you know. But there's one kid in elementary school, I'll never forget. But I'll give a shout out to Darwin, you know. That he was a good person. I don't know what he is now, you know, since I'm in high school still. But, you know, I want to give a shout out to Darwin and Emerson. You know, I know Emerson, you know, for Emerson, you know, I want to say thank you. You know, not like a goodbye, or not like, oh, I want to do this before I leave this world. No, I'm saying thank you, you know, for being there for me, you know. You know, two of them, some of us are adults already. So I know some of us have our life figured out, while me, I'm still figuring out more, you know. But, you know, I just want to give out the thanks, you know. And sometimes you want to, for me, for nostalgia, you should give give thanks to some of your friends, you know. And as a dog, I know some, like, for Emerson, I haven't talked to him, you know, for like months now, you know, because I moved on, you know. Not because we had beef or anything, I'm talking about Emerson. I just, you know, he lives so far away, you know, like I do. And I don't have time, you know, and I was the one I was like the bigger friend, you know, begging, like, hey, when we gonna hang out? You know, they're like, oh, maybe this and that, you know, if I have time, all of that. And then one day I decided, you know what, I'm gonna stop talking. You know, I got Fernando here. You know, that's my best friend's name, Fernando. And I want to learn how to fix myself. You know, I want to learn how to do things so I could be a better person. You know, for me. You know, so I stopped talking to him, but I want to give him a shout out if he ever watches this, Emerson. You know, thank you. Thank you for being there for me. You know, whenever you have time, you know, text me or whatever. You know. And I just hope that you're doing good. But yeah, like I said, you should shout out to your friends. Not like in a manipulative way, you know, like I was saying, you know. But you know, listen, thank you for being there when I was, you know, I was this and that, when my life was low or my life was high or somewhat. But as for nostalgia, you know, sometimes you gotta pull out the plug for nostalgia. It may sound good, comforting, you know, because, you know, when you had no job, you just had your friends around. You were just there with your neighborhood friends or not, or your own room, just being creative or something, you know. But, you know, you should start being thankful. Thankful for all the things they've done for you and for them, you know. So yeah, that's it for the video. My name is Jubal, and see ya.